All right, let's learn how to make a graph of data in Excel. I have here the age and length for a boy named Sue. Let's see what happens to Sue. All I've got to do is grab all the data, left click and drag, go over to insert. What you want to choose is a scatter plot. Don't want to connect it with anything, you just want to choose the straight points. It's as simple as that. Only thing wrong with this graph is it really doesn't speak. Really needs a title, really needs a label for the horizontal axis and a label for the vertical axis. Easiest way to get that done is to click the graph itself, left click it, then go up to design, and then this chart layout right here already has labels built into it. So now I can just type over the top of them. So we'll call this Sue's growth chart. And our x-axis is labeled age. You don't want to just say age though, you want to label it because months would be different than years. This is months, so age in months. And the length also very important to label because in this particular case the data is in centimeters, not inches. Other than not looking very nice, we're done. Let's learn a few things that are kind of neat about cleaning this up a little bit. Number one, the series 1 label that shows up over here, don't really need because that is just telling us what this stands for. And for instance, if this was two different growth charts, one blue and one red, then over here I could say, one belonged to Sue and one belonged to a girl named Bill or whatever. So I could just click on that, hit delete. Another nice feature, it's kind of important sometimes, is the default is always going to include 0, but notice that wastes the whole bottom of this graph. The Y data, length data, really starts at 64. So if I left click on that label and then right click, one of my options is to format the axis. And I could set the minimum. Instead of letting it be automatic, I could fix it. So maybe I'll start it at 60. Notice how much better that looks. And I think I'll do the same thing for the x-axis. Starts at 4. Maybe I'll right click and start it at, I don't know. I don't want to start it at 4 because I don't want to right on the edge, but I could start it at 2. That looks better using the graph. Notice the label up the side kind of makes sense, 60, 65, 70, but the horizontal axis looks a little weird, 2, 7, 12. If you click on that again and right click and go to format axis, it says right here that the major unit is a 5. So because I started at 2, it went 2, 7, 12. I could, since I have room, I could maybe label it a little more often. So if I change it to 2, it's going to go 2, 4, 6, 8. That looks a little better. Another feature that's kind of neat to add is when I look at this, it's a little hard to read because I don't have any vertical lines in here. So if I click on that data again and right click, besides format axis, there's also add major grid lines. So that helps me read where all those points are, but you can even add minor grid lines. So now it's a little easy for a person to see what their data stands for. And I guess while I'm at it, I'll add minor grid lines for the vertical axis. I like the look of that. Um, Another neat option besides just adding the major grid line is formatting it. Like for in this case, I could make that a little darker if I wanted to. So I'll go up here to line style and increase that to 1.25. Now it stands out a little bit more. I think I'll do the same thing for the vertical axis. Format major grid line, take it up to 1.25. Like the look of that. Another option it's kind of fun to add is a little bit of color. So this is a little bit dull right now. Everything's just kind of black and white. So let's mess with this a little bit. So if I clicked on this, right click as you always do, format chart area, gives me all kinds of things I can mess with. One of the nice things that is a little interesting is to maybe fill this or add a border. So I'll add a border. Right now there's no line. I'll add a line, put a solid line in there. I can choose the color. Let's go Ducks today. And I want to make that pretty thick. If I want to, I could even add some kind of an interesting style to it. Maybe that triple line. Let's make it even bigger. Let's see, how's that look? Oh, that's nice. So things are turning green. I could format that chart area, maybe even fill it with something. Solid fill. Going with the duck theme, so maybe I'll make it green. Notice that only filled the chart area. If I go take a look at the plot area, it's also a different color. Maybe I'll fill it as well. Choose a different color. If we're going to go ducks, let's go yellow. That looks good. Again, you can touch and change almost anything in here. So maybe I'll change all of these now that I'm going with the green and yellow theme. I'll change all of these text colors to green. I can click on every one of them. Might be able to hold down shift and select them all at the same time, but let's just go old school. So that all looks good except for these dots. What if I click on those? Oh yeah, format data series. So marker options, marker fill, solid fill. I could go yellow, but that wouldn't show up very well. Let's go dark green. So now everything's green. Looks really nice. You can always mess with the text if you want it to be a little larger so it stands out a little bit more. All kinds of things you can do in that regard. So that looks pretty nice. I can live with that. Last thing that is important, being able to add a trend line to this. So if I click on this data, right click, there's add a trend line. So all kinds of options here for shapes that we'll study later in this class, but for right now I'll just leave it linear. Notice that looks okay. Line goes through it. Can also display the equation on the chart. So that looks good. I can move that maybe to a more convenient spot, size it up so it's a little more readable. Maybe change the color of it since I made everything else green. Don't have to do this, but you can even control. If I right click on it, I can format that label and round it however I want to. So maybe I'll round all the numbers in that to 3 decimal places. So I don't know if it gets any better than that. Let's call it good.